Hi everybody, welcome to Make It Monday. My name is Miss Sarah and I'm from the Lincoln Belmont branch of the Chicago Public Library. Today we will be making rock candy. Rock candy is really easy to make at home and it only requires a few simple ingredients and a little patience. Before we begin, I must mention that it's important that you do this experiment with an adult as we will be working with hot liquid sugar, which can be dangerous. So to make our rock candy, we will need 1.5 cups of sugar, half a cup of water to have in here, a glass jar, a clothespin or a large hair clip. Just make sure that it's wide enough to cover the top of your glass jar. A wooden stick. So this can be a wooden skewer or a popsicle stick. I'm using a takeout chopstick today. So we'll also need a plate, a nice long spoon for stirring, and a medium sauce pot and a stove. Okay. So to get started, first we will take our wooden stick and dip it in water and then coat in sugar. I am just stirring it around. And then I'm going to use my plate, which I poured a little bit of sugar onto earlier. I'm just going to coat it as thickly as I possibly can. Okay. Okay. And then you can sort of see the sugar coating that stick. So this layer of granulated sugar will act as our seed crystals. This is actually what our rock candy will grow from. You may be wondering, how does rock candy grow from this? Well, to answer that question, we first need to talk about crystallization. Crystallization occurs when molecules stack together in an organized way, forming crystal shapes. These little granules of sugar are already crystals, just small ones. Rock candy is made of big crystals like this, so we can see the difference. So this is one that's already been made, big crystals versus our small crystals. So in our experiment today, we will be learning how to control the size of these crystals so that they form into the big rock candy crystals that we're aiming for. Okay, so now that our stick is coated in sugar, we're going to leave them aside to dry while we make our sugar solution. So solutions are made when one or more substances dissolves into a liquid. Some examples of everyday solution are lemonade and hot cocoa. So lemonade is made when sugar and lemon juice dissolve into water, and hot cocoa is made when cocoa powder and sugar are dissolved into milk. So today we'll be making a sugar syrup, also known as simple syrup. This solution is made by dissolving our sugar into our water. Okay, so here we have our 1.5 cups of sugar and our half cup of water. So what we're going to do is we're going to dissolve the sugar into the water. All right, so let's mix these two ingredients and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to stir it. So our sugar in this experiment is called a solute. So a substance that dissolves into another substance is called a solute. So the substance that the solute dissolves into is called the solvent. And in our experiment, the solvent is the water. Okay, so I'm stirring. And unfortunately, it looks like the sugar isn't really dissolving. You can see how cloudy it is. And there's still tons of sugar that hasn't dissolved on my spoon. Okay, so why do you think this is? So what it has to do with is solubility. So solubility refers to the amount of solute, sugar in our case, that can be dissolved into the solvent, water, under normal conditions. In this case, we have too much sugar to be dissolved into the water. Thankfully, this is a problem with an easy solution. So just add heat. So I'm gonna go to heat the sugar and water on the stovetop and I will come right back. Okay, and we're back. So I've heated my sugar and water together on the stovetop on high heat, stirring constantly until it reached a boil. It is extremely important that a grown-up do this step. So after the sugar was dissolved, I turned off the heat and carefully poured it into this Pyrex container and I let it cool for 15 minutes. So our solution is now warm and it's no longer hot, and this is exactly the right temperature to make rock candy. So you'll notice that the sugar is now completely dissolved into the water. So by adding heat, we increase the solubility of the water, which allowed the sugar to completely dissolve. Our sugar syrup is now a supersaturated solution. Supersaturated solutions are solutions that have a higher amount of solutes dissolved into them than possible under normal conditions. So now we'll take our warm supersaturated solution and pour it into our glass jar. All right. Okay. Okay, so next we're going to grab our wooden stick with our seed crystals on it from earlier and suspend it in the solution. So we're going to use the clothespin to hold it up. Put it in. Okay, so make sure that there's at least an inch of space between the bottom of your stick and the bottom of the glass jar. Right? So now all we have to do is wait. So the rock candy crystals will slowly form over the next several days. Your rock candy should be done in 4 days to a week, so keep checking back on it. All right, so here is an example of some rock candy that I made 4 days ago. We can see that the crystals have grown. You see that in there? And I'm really happy the way that it turned out. So let's take it out of the jar now. Remove the clothespin. So you'll notice that there is a layer of really thin crystallized sugar at the top. That's okay, that's normal. So we're just gonna take a spoon and gently chisel it away and we can pull our rock candy out. All right. Okay, that looks really good. It's still wet. It still is covered in a little bit of syrup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put it in this empty jar and just suspend it and let it dry. Just keep letting it drip. It'll take about an hour for it to completely dry, but I'm really, really happy with the way that this one turned out. All right, it's been about 1 hour and voila, our rock candy is ready. So look at these beautiful sugar crystals that we created. As our warm supersaturated solution cooled down, the sugar molecules separated from the water. And because the sugar molecules are attracted to other sugar molecules, they climb to the seed crystals on our stick, which form these big, beautiful rock candy crystals that you see here. So what do you think would happen if we let our rock candy go for 2 weeks instead of 1? What about 3 weeks or a month? And what would happen if we didn't dissolve our sugar all the way? Well, actually, I do have an example of that here to show you. So this is from a previous batch of rock candy I made where I accidentally didn't fully dissolve the sugar into the water. And you can see, let's try to take this out. It is completely stuck. It's a little harder to tell because it's a dark purple color, but basically this entire thing is crystallized. I can't chisel a single rock candy away. So that's unfortunate. So because there was lots of undissolved sugar, the crystals formed everywhere instead of just on the stick. So it's kind of useless to us. Can you think of any other variables that would change our results? All right, so thank you so much for watching today. If you want to do some reading about the science of candy, I highly recommend this book, The Sugary Secrets Behind Candy by Ellie O'Ryan, illustrated by Bob McClurkin. So this is an awesome book that tells you everything you need to know about how candy is made, and there is even a section on rock candy. It's awesome. So I hope you and your grown-up get a chance to try this experiment out at home. And if you do, send us some pictures to Children's Services and Family Engagement at cplkids@shypublib.org or share it on social media with the hashtag CPLKids. And don't forget to come back here next Monday for another STEAM activity. Bye.